Good evening. You thought you might have seen the back of us for today, but unfortunately for you, it isn't the case. We come in on you live for a very special Betting Weekly Tennis Live on the back of what we've just seen in the last 25 minutes or so. We've just seen a shock retirement from US Open the US Open favourite and the world number one, Jannik Sinner, who has just retired at 5-0 up in the final of Cincinnati. Joining me to look at the ramifications of the US Open betting and to give his thoughts on what we've just seen over the last half hour or so is one of our tennis correspondents. It's Tim Dennis. Good afternoon or good evening to you, Tim. How you doing, mate?
Good evening, Nigel. Yeah, good. Better than Jannik Sinner at the moment, I'd imagine. So yeah, we're okay as opposed to him, who's probably not in love with life right now.
Well,
but
first
tell
of
you
all,
one man who is Carlos Alcaraz, who's easy night's work for him, eh?
Very, very easy night's work for him. And obviously that was a real shock before happening there, what we've just seen go live there. The first of all was obviously anyone who's bet with Bet Rivers on that match. Obviously the match will be void because he didn't complete the first set. Heartbreaking if you've taken Carlos Alcaraz to win the first set. I mean, there'd be a lot of people who want that. I know the guys earlier were looking at Carlos Alcaraz on the money line, the first set and all these kind of prop markets. You must have the biggest bad beat of the year if you're taking Carlos Alcaraz to win that first set.
Yeah, you'd be pretty gutted there, wouldn't you? 5-0 up, and yeah, it's done and dusted, and then he doesn't even let Sinner let Alcaraz win the first. I'm just reading what Sinner said there. He said, "From yesterday, I didn't feel great. I thought I'd improved during the night, and it came up worse. I tried to come out and make it at least a small match, but I couldn't handle more." So I don't know whether he's talking about a physical thing or whether that's or food related or what that might be. He hasn't exposed on that yet.
Why would you do that though? I mean, if you're not feeling 100%, you're a week away from the start of the final major of the year. It's been extremely testing conditions here. If you're not really 100%, I'm surprised he actually took part in it. To be perfectly honest with you, he didn't. He's been quite cagey. He hasn't said whether it's anything to do with a sickness, a bug. He's been quite cagey in his response on court. There, he hasn't turned what out the injury is. But it's going to have huge ramifications. We're going to come on to the ramifications of the betting market to win the US Open in a minute. But even if you're 60, 70% right, why risk it as world number one here for the US Open? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I think only him and his inner team will know the answer to that question. I mean, it looked fairly obvious to our eyes, didn't it? That even in that, obviously, he was broken in the first game, but even in that second game when Alcaraz was serving, he wasn't walking back to the other side of the court, right? Was he? He just never looked happy at any stage from very early on. So whether there is more to it, I think we could probably only find out for certain in the next 24 hours, won't we? I'd say it's clearly likely he's not going to take part in that mixed doubles. It's going to start happening that he has a new partner for anyway, and I think Siniakova. But I imagine he won't be taking part in that, and he'll be just trying to get ready for next week.
Yeah, there is. I think there's little to no chance of him playing in the doubles with Siniakova. He's going to take a bit of time to get over whatever has happened today. But obviously now the big ramifications are on the outright market to win the US Open, where Jannik Sinner came into this as around about even money favourite. Currently now on the Bet Rivers website and on the app, Jannik Sinner is plus 110. Carlos Alcaraz is plus 150. Now some sportsbooks over here in the UK are moving that line as we speak, and Jannik Sinner is out to around about plus 162 currently with some sports books over here. Bet Rivers still have him at plus 110, but I would expect the market to see what they've seen there, think we are only now a matter of days away from the start of Flushing Meadow, and we're not going to risk the short price about Jannik Sinner. Now, from your betting point of view, if this guy has got an illness or if he's got some kind of food poison or something like that, he can recover from that in 48 hours. So is the market reacting now to something, a huge overreaction? Because what we see in betting, don't we? People bet with what they've seen in the last 10 minutes or 20 minutes. They don't actually think about it, have a night's sleep and think, oh, this is why we're on here now on this reaction show. What would you be doing now, Tim? You're looking at these prices. You're seeing Jannik Sinner's pricing drift and drift and drift. You're seeing Carlos Alcaraz come in the build-up. But if he's got a bug, in 48 hours' time, this could be all over.
Yeah, you've got this great recency bias that the people love to get carried away with now, don't you? Whether it's people talking about Scheffler being better than Woods in golf or with Alcaraz here and Sinner being, oh, that's him done now. He can't possibly win the US Open. But I think if it was a physical issue, you'd imagine, like you said earlier, perhaps he wouldn't have even took to the court tonight. Perhaps it was a stomach bug, maybe a bit of sickness. He thought, I'll go out there, I'll give it a go, I'll at least try. Whereas I think if it was a more serious problem, he wouldn't have even took to the court, would he? So I think the overreaction probably is an overreaction, and I would be looking to see how big an overreaction that goes and what kind of price he drifts to. But it wouldn't put me off backing Sinner, and I would probably be starting to get involved if he goes anywhere near sort of plus 150. I think that'd be right up my street.
I think you're going to find him kidding about plus 150 as the evening progresses, and probably even going a little bit bigger than that. I mean, looking at the tournament so far this week in Cincinnati, he's the second player in the top number 3 in the world. Zverev has obviously had an injury concern yesterday. He looked like he has sickness as well. So we're going into the final major of the year with Alcaraz looking fresh as a daisy after winning the tournament. You'd also got to remember that Sinner pulled out of Madrid as well. He didn't play in Toronto. His match practice isn't there, and he's obviously so there is some kind of negatives. The only saving grace for him, I'm looking at the weather forecast for New York next week. It doesn't seem as hot as what it has been over here in Canada and also in Cincinnati. So it's a little bit cooler to give him time to down. But what state is men's tennis in at the moment? Where we going in to what for American bettors? We're obviously American channel, sponsored by our good friends at Bet Rivers. What state is it that when we're going into it that you have 2 of the top 3 players in the world having bugs, injuries? You have Novak Djokovic recovering, taking time off. You have Jack Draper injured. You have almost everyone in the top 20 is saying they're exhausted. In these kind of conditions, it's ludicrous. Does that mean that we could potentially have an underdog winner here? Are the favourites vulnerable in this tournament, or is it going to be Carlos Alcaraz coming through if everyone else and just winning it fairly easily?
Well, it's almost a survival of the fittest now, isn't it? It's men's tennis. I mean, we've spoken at length on shows beforehand about the scheduling and it just being way too much. You've got these thousands of events that they have to play in. I think they can miss one a year, I think perhaps, but they have to play in all the others. Sinner and Alcaraz obviously missed the one in Washington and that had to come here after Wimbledon. But we've seen it with De Minaur, like you say. We haven't seen Draper since Wimbledon. You've got players getting injured left, right, and centre, playing with obviously different courts, different conditions, different balls all the time. And it does look like there's way too much tennis. I mean, just going back to the Sinner thing, Nigel, a question I'd ask you. Let's say Sinner hadn't even took the court tonight. He'd have said, right, I've got a bug, I'm sick, I can't play, I'm looking to get to the US Open. We've seen him play fantastic tennis this week, looking the world beater that he is. And if he hadn't even took to the court tonight, I don't think there'd be this big drift on him, would there? Because you just say, okay, he's got this bug and he's not healthy, but he will be in 48 hours' time. So that's the way, looking at this, that's the way I would go. Yeah. Chances are he's going to be fine in 48 hours' time, and there is going to be a big reaction to it. And chances are in 48 hours' time, it will be an overreaction. That's the way I would see it.
The other thing as well is obviously Sinner. I don't mean to sound this quite rude, but when he looks ill, he looks really ill. The way he holds his stomach, he's very pale by nature. He looks sick, even though he's 100% fit. So he looks ill. He grimaces. Well, he looks like he's ill. So everybody's looking at it thinking this guy's in really bad trouble, but he's probably not as bad as he actually is.
But he walks like the Tin Man, doesn't he? When he's sort of walking from side to side.
He just like really, and he looks up to his box. He does have that kind of look about a child that needs his mum. He's got that kind of feel about him. But I mean, as we're speaking now, the prices on Sinner's getting bigger with Bet Rivers. They've pushed him out to plus 120. They're still keeping him fairly cautious compared to the other end of the market. Alcaraz is plus 188. So currently, at this moment in time, he's the best price in the land if you want to bet Alcaraz to win the US Open on the back of what we've seen this evening. If you think that Jannik Sinner is unfit and you believe Jannik Sinner can't recover from this bug, or if there is more to it than this bug, it could become strained to his stomach or something like that. Plus 188 currently now on Alcaraz to win the US Open is the price with Bet Rivers, and it is the best price in the lounge. So Bet Rivers seem to be one of the only sportsbooks out there at the moment who aren't taking this, as more seriously as other sportsbooks are considering, and that is probably a thing that we both agree with.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, Sinner was minus money before this match for the US Open, wasn't he?
I think it was minus 110, just minus 110.
So it's obviously a bit of plus money back, but still being kept on side by Bet Rivers, which for me is a smart move. I wouldn't want to be pushing him out too far. You get some bookmakers pushing him out perhaps, but like you said, it pushed out to plus 120 now. Let's see if he goes any further. I think the market will have a rebase probably in the next, I mean, what are we now? In UK time, it's 9 o'clock and 4 o'clock over in Eastern time. But perhaps when later on this evening, and certainly by UK time tomorrow morning, there could well be a rebase. I don't think it will go too dramatic. But I mean, let's see how far it goes. I mean, plus 120 at the moment. Do you think it'll reach plus 150, Nigel?
I think it will. I think the market will level itself up because public perception will force down the price of Carlos Alcaraz. They'll look at it. It'll be in the results book. He's won this tournament. People will look at it and think, well, he can handle himself in these conditions. Jannik Sinner has always been a player that everybody's had question marks about his fitness over 5 sets. If he comes in with a weakness, people will capitalize on it more with him, with his physicality than anybody else. And I think that the market will force the Alcaraz price down. I think Sinner will be a big drifter. I believe by the time in the next couple of hours, I think you'll be getting probably close to plus 150 Jannik Sinner. But I think he's a better. I agree with you. I think if we get to a stage where Jannik Sinner is plus 150 or bigger, and he has a bug, which we all believe, or an illness, it's going to recover it in 48 hours. And we were on a minus 110 shot. 20, to an hour ago to plus 150 just because he's at a dodgy curry or he's at a bit of stir fry in the canteen that's off. It's got to be, the price is going to get silly, I believe, here. So I think watch your space.
He's going to have 7 days, isn't he, between now and when he next has to play a match of tennis? Because, like we said earlier, there's no chance he plays in that mixed doubles now. And like we said, if it had been physical, I don't think he'd have been on the court tonight. It was just perhaps an illness, maybe whether it's to do with the heat or, like you said, something he ate or whatever it was. But he came out, gave it a go. Clearly wasn't working. Didn't move great, but that's probably due to it. If you've got a dodgy stomach, you're not going to move great around the court. And again, physical, I don't think we'd have seen him at all. And I'd be surprised if he's not the Jannik Sinner we know and love in 7 days' time.
Yeah, we got some comments in the box as well. Everyone's enjoying these live streams. Finger Wag 22, love these live quick streams. I hope it will continue moving forward. It will do. Obviously, as these breaking news stories come in throughout the soccer season, throughout the tennis season, we will be on hand to give you sort of some reflection on the betting market. We've got illness. Calm down, Ashley Lambert. Well, we are calming down. We agree with you, Ashley. What we're trying to say is the betting market is moving in that favour, and we believe it's wrong. We believe if this is generally a bug, you're going to get some tremendous value about the man who's clearly the world number one by some distance. Villafan 20, thank you very much, Villafan. Adam comes, love this live reaction show. Leslie Amac, I like these breaking news shows. So everyone's quite enjoying these shows. What do you think? Let us know what you think in the comments box. Put down now, would you be a better of Jannik Sinner at this current price with Bet Rivers, which is currently plus 120 and getting bigger? Or would you take Carlos Alcaraz? Take nothing away from Carlos Alcaraz though this week. Tim, he's played well. Look good.
Yeah, he has looked good. I mean, he has those moments where I think he admitted himself against Zverev yesterday. Obviously, he won in straight sets, but that was due to Zverev being in the condition he was. But he even said himself he struggled to concentrate, and we saw him lose sets to Zimmer, just going AWOL for that little bit of period, and he loses concentration. I mean, we saw Van der Skanskop beat him, didn't we, in the US Open last year? That huge shock, and you wouldn't completely put it past Alcaraz to have another one of those against a player like, I think Rublev gave him a good test, didn't he, the other day? I think if you had to, obviously they're 1 and 2 seeds, they're going to be on opposite sides of the draw, but I think if you had to have your life on someone to get to the final out of the two of them, for me it would always be Sinner, because Alcaraz does have that sort of going AWOL in him, doesn't he? Just seems to lose that concentration and has those sort of shock defeats, whereas Sinner doesn't really, to my eye, seem to have that. And looking at the draw, like we said earlier here, again, this is another example of tennis players and the conditions they're in. Zverev is going to be number 3 seed, isn't in the US Open. So if you think there is an issue with Sinner, and he's going to be on the same side, but then you can't really see an angle with him getting there because the condition he was in yesterday or the day before. So, yeah, like you said, men's tennis is littered with injuries and illnesses. And but yeah, I'm hopeful that what we've seen from Sinner tonight is just a bug, and we're going to see him. We're going to see him as we want to see him next week.
Yeah, Jean Schwartz 47 just put a great comment there. He said apparently an Italian journalist from the Sinner camp wrote that Sinner got food poisoning, and since this morning is barely moving. But why would he play? Why? I don't get it. I can understand it if it was like in Dubai or in the middle of the season in February or in March, when you've got 2 months for the French Open, if you're feeling that unwell, I don't know why you play. I mean, especially not, I just think it seems strange to participate the week before the US Open. But obviously,
perhaps the thing with Sinner there is I think he comes across as a good lad, doesn't he? And whether he's just thought, you know what, there's a lot of people here who've paid to see a final, and I'll at least go and try. That wouldn't shock me, because I think he's got a great attitude towards the game, and he's done a lot for tennis, and tennis has done a lot for him. So maybe that played a part in it. Who knows? But credit for him for having a go. But yeah, clearly he wasn't right, was he? And if that is true, that it is just food poisoning, and that's what I think we're both leaning towards saying at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a good point. Obviously, he's got some commitment to his fans. We're just going to come on. We're going to go on here a bit. We're only going to come on here for about another 10 minutes or so. If there's any questions you want, any in-play bet, you might as well talk about some in-play bet. And if there's anything you want to have on the Bet fight, anything that's going on, we might as well have a little chat about that as well. But I did speak to you before we come on. It was a little bit of the last minute that we come on. I rang you up the last minute. Come on, let's go. We're going to go live. We're going to talk about this Sinner match. But we were talking about the food poisoning issue, or the injury yesterday, or the bug from Alexander Zverev as well. Obviously, he's not the only player who's had an issue here. Two of the top 3 players go into the US Open with some kind of sort of fitness or bug-related illness. And you come up with a very, very interesting point about that. I think, would you care to elaborate what you thought about Alexander Zverev and his chances in the US Open?
Yeah, well, it went a little bit under the radar with Zverev, because obviously in the conditions yesterday we saw what happened to him, and he was pretty much just a zombie there for that second set. But guys that do follow tennis know that Zverev is actually a diabetic, and I think when the temperatures get really hot, diabetics will struggle in them more than people who haven't got diabetes with their sugar levels, and I think that really was to play to Zverev yesterday. And if you're saying cooler conditions in New York, he'll be looking to whether he'll get any help from the US Open people, whether he can play in the evenings when it's a bit cooler, who knows? But those conditions will certainly suit Zverev more. And yeah, being a diabetic, I think that was a little bit sort of swept under the carpet. Yeah, and it wasn't mentioned too much yesterday, but that definitely was part of the reason why he was in the conditions he was in yesterday.
Yep, and if you want to bet Alexander Zverev to win the US Open, he is currently available at 17-1 with Bet Rivers. So 17-1. Carlos Alcaraz plus 150 now, with Bet Rivers moving in a little bit, and Jannik Sinner back into plus 110. So the line has reverted to where it was. So the way the market seems here is calm down. Just calm down. Take a little time to relax. Think about what's happened here. There has been some instant reactions over here in the UK, but nothing really over in the stateside with Bet Rivers. They are looking at this market and thinking there is nothing to worry about. It is exactly as it was, and Jannik Sinner will be absolutely fine for the US Open. And
do you think this time tomorrow, Nigel, we'll be about plus 100, pretty much back where we were?
Well, I mean, there's nibble. Alcaraz is being nibbled in the marketplace. I mean, if you're looking at the prices, I reckon in the morning we'll probably be about. I think the prices with Bet Rivers are the right prices. I believe that Sinner will be plus 110, Alcaraz will be plus 150, and you've got to remember as well, he actually, even a 70% Sinner and a 70% Alcaraz, or 60%, would probably get through to the quarterfinals, wouldn't they? The way that, they've got to factor in the price, but the difference between those two at the top of the market and everybody else is exceptional. So, it's an interesting one. Before I leave you, Tim, just wrapping up here after what we've seen, a crazy opening set there over in Cincinnati. There is a live window. Is there anything that's have you got any bets on live now? Anything you've got?
Not in the live game. I'm looking forward to the women's final we're going to see later. Hopefully, we're going to see a little bit more action in that one. Obviously, Paolini, she's never beaten Iga, but whether the scheduling has perhaps helped Iga, that's maybe slightly slower conditions, perhaps. And we know Paolini's played doubles all week as well, so Iga might just have a little bit more of the tank, and she could well be going for back-to-back titles.
I've had a little wager a little bit later on today in the tournament on the women's match over in Cleveland. I'm on the anti-Katie Bolter train. I think Katie Bolter's in a serious slump at the moment, and I've bet Yi Yuan at even money to beat Katie Bolter. Currently minus 110 with Bet Rivers. Katie Bolter is an absolute fade at the moment. She's all over the place in her game, and I've gone I've had a small bet on her a little bit later. I think it's 8 o'clock Eastern time, so a little bit of action later
She
on.
must be planning the wedding. I think that's where her interests are at the moment, not on the tennis court.
Have you got the invite?
Not yet. I'm still waiting. Whether they haven't got the address since I moved house, I'm not sure. I have to double check when I see him. When you're in New York, just remind him. See
Sure. I know Sean received his today, but anyway, that's it really. I mean, looking at this mark here, the US Open is fast approaching. As I say, it starts on Monday. This stupid mixed doubles event before PR stunt, absolute waste of time. Don't get lured into betting on that. And obviously, Jannik Sinner will. One thing we do know, he won't be participating in that glorified kind of sort of testimonial. How would you call it? Friendly? It's ludicrous.
Just making the money bank a little bit bigger. I'd say that's what that event is all about.
And that's exactly what it is. So we will have you covered here, not only with these live streams. We're going to bring the breaking news. Liverpool at the weekend. We spoke after that match as well. Steve and Jack come on the soccer. Myself and Tim come on here during the US Open. We'll come on it, big breaking stories. If there's big news, we're going to come on live. That's what we're going to do this year. Any big stories, straight away, the betting reaction. What's it going to be? Calm down, or should we press? What should we do? How should we react to this betting news? That's what we're going to have on the channel throughout the remainder of the year. But obviously, next week is our crazy week. We have on Thursday, we have the live draw, the US Open live draw, and I'm joined by Mitch, and we're going to have Dustin Fox as well. Mitch Michaels and Dustin Fox. We're going to break down the US Open draw as we did for Wimbledon. So many of you join us for that live stream. Looking forward to that on Thursday. And then on Friday, Saturday, we'll be recording the WTA and the ATP Tour, looking at the men's and the women's outright market at the US Open, looking at the best bets in round one, seeing what price Jannik Sinner will be when the tournament starts. But at this moment in time, he drifted out a little bit. The market has come in. Our conclusion tonight is don't panic. Do not panic. All's going to be well with Jannik Sinner. The market was in craziness for about 15 minutes. It's going to settle down. And if we do get a silly price like plus 150 or a plus 140 on Jannik Sinner, what are we got to do, Tim? We've got to have a bit, and you've got to be helping yourself to a bit of that. Okay, that's it for this live stream on the news that Jannik Sinner has retired. 5-love down against Carlos Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz is the champion in Cincinnati. Who's going to be the champion over in New York for the US Open? We'll have you covered here on the fastest growing sports betting channel on YouTube. Tennis coverage better than anybody else. Any questions you wanted to see or anything you want to have, put it in the chat. Let us know also on Twitter as well. We'll ask you questions. But at this moment in time, as we leave you now, Jannik Sinner is still the plus 110 favorite with Bet Rivers to win the US Open. And Carlos Alcaraz is plus 150. A little bit of a nibble for the Spaniard, but they're holding tight on that Sinner price. They don't want to go too big. They don't want to dangle a carrot that they may be snapped up. That's it for this live show. Take care, and we'll speak short again tomorrow here on Betting Weekly Studios.